Welcome to another episode of Talking with WIT Kevin and Son. This show is brought to you by RMK Productions and the 10 United Podcast Network. Our mission is very simple. Through the power of our stories, we showcase people you should know. We want to uplift you through the power of our voices, inspire you, and share stories and experiences and perspectives using the framework of teaching, learning, and modeling. Our purpose is very simple: hope, helping other people every single day. Today, our guest is the owner and founder of Ancestry Land LLC. It is a real estate company primarily focused on buying land and selling vacant land. Our guest has also been a registered nurse for over 20 years. He's also a husband. Last time he was on here was a father of one. I think he's now a father of two, and we'll learn if father of three is coming. He's a graduate of Wagner College. And today I'd like to welcome back author and entrepreneur, Mr. Phillip Davis. And we're going to be talking about his book, his new book, Getting Dollars from Dirt. Phillip, how are you doing, my man?
I'm doing well. Much better after that illustrious introduction. Thank you for
Well,
having
you
me.
know something, I will tell you from the first time that I met you, from the
Mhm.
first time that we did an interview, you're a hard act to follow. One, you are as charismatic as Denzel Washington. You are as good looking with Billy D. Williams without hair, and you are spot on as far as what you do as far as business and providing opportunity for those of us that don't see opportunity.
Right.
You are a disciple of God. And I like to welcome you back to the show. So first of all, before we go on, how is everything?
Great. I'm actually was the father of two last time. I might have snuck a kid in there in between, and then third child, my son Percival, he just turned a year last week. So I'm father of three now. Yeah.
All right, well, congratulations. I knew I had the numbers somewhere down in
Yeah.
there. Um, we were supposed to do this interview early in the summer,
Yep.
and you somehow systematically figured out a way to put it on pause. So I've been waiting a long time. What happened to you?
I ended up having an Achilles injury. I was out there trying my best to imitate Kobe and Michael, and the crossover didn't work too well. And next thing I know, snap, crackle, and pop. And now I couldn't, my jump shot wasn't working anymore. So uh, it's been a quick recovery, actually, 10 weeks since surgery, and I'm up and walking with a regular shoe now.
All right. Well, glad to have you back, and we'll talk about um, how the injury did not stop you from
Mm,
writing the book, and we
right.
finally are very happy to have you on the show.
Thank you.
Let's give a quick update. Tell
Mhm.
us about your LLC. What is this?
Yep. So Ancestry Lands was a thought in my head that I didn't know was there, a seed in the ground that you don't know what fruit it will bring. And the reason why I started Ancestry Lands was pretty much the same way the book was incepted. It's the opportunity to create a legacy through ownership, something that you can pass down. If you look through history, throughout many cultures, even today, we are now the current culture of people who will lose ownership, legacy building, if we do not take an opportunity to have an advantage of that. I started buying up property using a lot of my nursing skills, understanding numbers and things like that. And I wanted to offer them to people with no interest and no credit, bypassing banks because land ownership is not just about owning for something to build. You can also build sustainable communities or, self sufficiency through growing crops, animals, and help out the working man and woman. And that's the inception of, what Ancestry Lands was supposed to be. And I didn't know it was going to turn into, the YouTube channel and the book, but the universe, like I said before, it brings you what you can handle and nothing more. Even though you sometimes think the weight is too heavy, but it was something that it became a cause that I'm a champion. I'm a champion of the regular people who need an opportunity are not, filtered or have a gatekeeper through banks and interest rates. People need a chance, not to qualify, but they need an opportunity to own and own land Real estate's made millionaires, and it's been something that was always taken away from people to have power over people. And I want to give that back to them.
Well, I'm glad you're doing that, and you're actually trying to steal my thunder because that's the reason why I started my show. Because I wanted to showcase people like you or people that we should know.
Right.
I want to simplify what you're doing because you said bypass banks.
Yes.
That's going to be the curiosity of a lot of people because
Mhm.
even though quote unquote there's no such thing as redlining,
Right.
there is a system in place that prevents people of melanated skin tone
Mhm.
the opportunity to own not only land but property. Our
Right.
interest rates are a lot higher than the average person. We have to go through circus acts in order to be seen, qualify, no matter what our credit ratings are, and we seem to be penalized for wanting to have more in our life when we go through the system. You have created a system that basically provides an opportunity for people. Before we get into your book,
Mhm.
explain exactly how, with your system,
Right.
someone like me, I'm not very, I'm not going to say I'm not very smart. I'm gifted. Um, I'm trying to paint a picture. How do I do this? Just tell me how someone that has um,
Right.
self motivation, that wants more, that wants to provide a legacy, that
Right.
wants to get into the real estate market. How do they bypass the banking system working through you?
Well, one of the main things is that the purchase of the property, the transfer of ownership. That's what Ancestry Lands is about: generational ownership and legacy building. My first principle was that I wouldn't sell anyone something that I don't own myself, that I have not put my sweat equity into. Not to to say anything bad about a particular market, but if you're incentivized in selling something that's someone else's, then you're a person who's purchasing it. They're being sold, or and told what the value of something is. I own all of the properties that I have sold and are unsold, because I wanted to show people that I invested in it first. This is something that if anything happened to me today, it would be my wife and my children's. It would be their legacy to inherit and build a business off of, or to sell at a different time to leverage against a bank loan when you're not qualified, because real estate is real estate. And when I put the property under contract, I allow people to put a small down payment, about $1,000, and that's just to show me that they're serious about, securing the property. And basically, they're paying monthly payments, no interest and no credit checks, and they do that until they can pay the property off. So I do allow people sometimes to pay the property off at the cash price, so they have a certain window to be able to pay it off at a cash price instead of needing to front load that up at the initial time of the purchase. And then afterwards, I deed the property over to them. I do that all in house. My wife and I do all the signing. We have notary people, and we send over the property, the ownership, the title of ownership, a deed, if you will, and the person is the new owner. And that is the process that we've done now for 5 years with over 50 new owners, property owners, people of all classes.
Now, this is opportunity that you provide. Is it nationwide or is it local?
So I'm in Pennsylvania, but the properties that we have owned have been in the Southwest. The reason why I concentrate in the Southwest is that a lot of people have the misunderstanding. They look at real estate from the common mindset, like we were educated to be. You buy a house, the bank charges you hundreds of thousands of dollars. They don't even tell you about property taxes, that the government now slaps on, and the additional taxes, and then the government taxes, then your work taxes. So after we get through with taxes, your ability to make a profit or have an investment that grows outside of the equity of a home, is minimal. So where I do is I concentrate where there's a mass migration. I always tell people, um, when you look at you know now crocodiles or alligator or now crocodiles, they put themselves at where the migration happens the most, where the largest feeding happens, and they've survived for, they haven't evolved. They're a perfect being, and they put themselves in where the migration of the wildebeest and other animals, that happens at the most. Well, you have a mass migration coming up from the south, and if you think like an investor, like many people who are wealthy who own tons of property, they don't always live where their property is. They own properties throughout the United States. Some they rent, some they keep, some they just hold. And where I'm position that in Southern California, Arizona, Colorado, this massive migration are people coming in into the States legally, I'm going to say, and they're settling in these areas and they want land. They desire land. They see the benefits of land. So if you're an investor looking at this, you're buying a property or vacant property that someone's going to want to live on eventually, and that drives the market or the value of the land up in an appreciating way. The benefit is that your cost to run the land, once you pay for it, there's no maintenance, there's no toilets, no tenants. Your only tenants are the natural, beings that God made. The yearly taxes are low, and you're in an area where utilities like power and water are already there. There are already homes there. The area is developing and growing rapidly. So as people move out of LA and other areas, the people are going to settle into the outskirts, and that's where I, kind of home myself into. But the Southwest is an area that you have the largest mass migration coming up through, and people are settling there in the hundreds of thousands. So you can take advantage of that by owning land that is increasing in value. And over the years, I sold properties my first year at $5,000 a lot to $10,000 to now up to $20,000. And I'm trying to keep it at an affordable rate so people can, I'm always under market value. I'll say it that way. So if you're a person that is looking to say in that area and you want to have a place that's affordable that you don't have to pay $700,000 for basically a shed, and then you have to rehab it and you have to worry about areas that are good or bad. You now have an area that you can go to that you're paying less than that for a manufactured home to be built. Water's right in front. You can go solar and you can have a home for less than $400,000, at the end of the day, all in. And it's built to the way that you like it. It's a brand new home, manufactured home, if someone were to do the building process. And they have an area where, their values are going to go up in 20 years. So either the person who's looking for retirement, looking for an affordable option if you're a remote worker, or a person that is looking for it as an investment opportunity, it offers every little slice of the pie for anyone who wants to eat. I just tell people all the time is that you can go buy someplace up in the woods in Pennsylvania, but that property value may stay the same over a slower growth over years because there's no growth in that area. But here, they're growing. The property values are growing exponentially, and people demand and want that land. So as California starts to continuously grow, you're going to see more demand. You're going to see more people come in and settle, and then they're going to keep spreading outward where people are going to want property, and they're going to want developed areas before they want undeveloped areas, and that's what I concentrate on.
Yeah, California is probably the highest ticket price on real estate and land there also. And I've had a couple of people on the show that are part of real estate groups or investment groups. Is this the opportunity you're providing? Is it more towards the individual or people that have already got a humongous portfolio that they'll just come in and gobble it up? Um,
Yeah. I'm going to say that every person that I've sold to, probably about 95%, has been a husband and wife to a 20-year-old with their head on the right way, able with some vision. But they're to the regular people. They're not businesses. They're not entities or things like that. I'm here for the common person. People are on my Facebook group. I'm friends with them. They see my children. When we do things. I always say it. It's like Papa John's delivering your pizza to your door instead of the delivery guy. I'm for the common man and woman, because I've been there too. I didn't know you could own land. I didn't know that, when I go to banks now, because I've owned land, I can get approved for a higher mortgage than I would when I did not own land off my income alone. I don't have to work, like you said, work more hours and trade in my life in exchange for those hours work to have equity that I can leverage. I can take 10 properties and send those to a bank. The bank can take those and I can get a certain amount of dollars in approval of a loan that I don't have to go and work for, suck money out for, or qualify. And, I have assets. And that's the point. The saddest thing I see in the world is that people buy one property and they stop. They're like, I'm good. And I say that you should build up a nice portfolio because say a property, advances in $10,000, one lot grows $10,000 in 10 years. Well, if you sell that property, you just made yourself 10,000 in extra profit and you still have four more to go. Why would you cut this? You do that one time, you don't have anything extra. Your child needs some money for college. Well, you can leverage one or two properties out of the 10 you got, for me, preferably. And then you are now able to sell those off. For a person like me, if I'm coming in and buying at that time, I'm going to pay you fair market price. And now you can leverage that, a way for your child, for whatever comes up in life. It's not something where you're required to work. And I'll give you just a short clip. In the last 3 years, I've had another ankle injury. My son was born, and I had my Achilles injury. Well, I've been probably worked about um, 18 months out of the last 3 years. So that's half the time. And because I built up a nice, sizable land, bank, if you will, I'm now able to, live off that money and support my family at the same time and be home and be present without trading, dollars for hours, like you would say.
Yeah, hours for dollars. Hey, I will say this, believe it or not, listening to the way that you explained it, because
Mhm.
I talk about assets and liabilities, not only human assets and liabilities, but I'm talking about material assets and liabilities. I'll be the first person to say, those of you that are in the music industry, those of you that are in the entertainment industry, those of you that are in the sports industry, two worst investments unless you buy collectibles like an automobile and jewelry. The return on both of those is basically, I don't even have to say it. But what I do want to say, you describe the game of monopoly.
Mhm.
Basically, acquiring, is like when you own the land, no matter what you build on it, someone's always going to pay in order to have that. That becomes an asset. When you own a house and you live in it, it becomes a liability because you're just paying money to the bank that's overcharged you and so forth. But you went a step further, and I still want you to start looking for a piece of land on the East Coast because I like the Adirondacks,
Yep.
and I hope that you would find it. And before I ask the question to segue into the book, is how do you find the land?
A lot of times I work direct with owners. I can say a little bit of secret to my success is that I've managed to be, when you have good intentions. I know people don't think there's a lot of good out there in the world, but
I believe that.
I've come across people. They see who I am and they know I'm straightforward and I'm very honest. I try to do things with goodness in my heart, and that has allowed me to connect with lawyers out in Hawaii that represent many clients that, my name gets passed through these circles where they have clients that want to sell land. And again, it's the same story happens over. Great grandma passed, she left it to the grandson's like, I don't want the land, I just want money because I need it for this, that they need it for this and that. And they say, well, I have a guy who's a contact that you can go, and he likes buying land in that area. Sometimes they have land in other areas, and I'll buy that too. And the thing is that no matter what, grandma or great grandma bought that property, and it now has some value where this person, great grandson or granddaughter, they come to me and they sell me this property, and they're getting the money that they need today to fix. One person, who was property taxes were due for a home they own in Hawaii. It was very expensive. And that $5,000, $10,000 that I spent, transferring to them, it was what they needed at that time. The land could not give them that value from the land itself, but it got it from the sale of the land. So it was worth so much, and it alleviated their situation. And all they did was inherit it. The legacy was there. And it had passed through what, 3 generations until it had got to his great grandmother. And that's the beauty of it. So a lot of times I get it directly through owners, people who've owned the land, and I go through title, escrow for people who might, they're one and the same, and I make sure that the title is clean. So everything I sell, people are buying from me. I have tons of title paperwork. I want to make sure that they're getting a clean deed, that I have worked out, that all the issues, or there are no issues when you buy a property from me. And that's just good business ethics for me.
Well, I've got a ton of questions. I got one more question for you before we talk about the book. I'm going to ask you right after this question because I know people are curious. They're
Yeah.
sitting there with pad and paper. How do we get in touch with you? But the question is, in today's current marketplace,
Yep.
being a seller is a
Yep.
good thing.
Yep.
Being the recipient of having to sell your house and then buy a house,
Right.
not such a good thing. Is this a good time to buy land?
It's always a great time to buy land. I'll say that the reason being is that the why is different. One thing you have to understand is that development is always happening until the day that we have a population decrease or you don't have mass migration. The areas are always building up. There are people who want to move out of major cities, which I'm always in a orbit of, and they want different areas where they can go and build up luxury apartments or businesses start to develop. Brick and mortar companies in California City, where a lot of the property is, and you can look it up and Google it. Mike Tyson has bought 40 acres to do glamping. There's resorts. There's so much business that is being developed and grown outward. I've even had solar companies contact me about, hey, we want to lease your land. They'll do 100-year land leases. Now that I won't live, I hope biblically, I hope to be living that long, but 100 years from now at 42, that means that my grandchildren will be able to receive money from that. And again, with technology comes an opportunity for you to own land in any different way. If you're looking to build right now where things are a little bit more expensive, I will probably suggest to wait, but why not ride the wave of appreciating asset in land? Homes depreciate based on demand, but land appreciates because the other buildings around it are growing and people are growing or building up buildings that increases the value of your land. You need more activity around there, which is why I choose small cities. That's the kind of I would say that's the secret to the sauce. And the other
So
one is like any other thing that you have, like growing any kind of plant, you have to nurture it. So I've really concentrated on building up the demand in that city, and that's helped spark a lot of development. I would say, I think in that 5 years, I've helped contribute to the growth of California City.
so right now, land is like investing in potential.
A lot of wealthy people right now, when they pull, a lot of people don't know that two places that wealthy people pull their money out of when there is a incoming recession, depression, or anything else, they will pull it out of the markets and put it into art or land, real estate, because they understand that there are ways like 1035 or exchange that you can sell something, buy something else, and you don't pay taxes on it. I just became certified in the state for insurance, life insurance, and other things like that, so I can teach wealth strategies later. But a lot of times, wealthy people invest their money into real estate, agricultural. You see Bill Gates doing it. You see Mitt Romney talking about it. These people buy massive amounts of land because they can either do agriculture, they can make money, they can write it off in a certain way. So land has always had a value since ancient time. Romans have always valued lands. Africans, when you get married, you get some land and some goats, and there's no culture here. We're taught the house is the thing, but you're paying 15 years with all interest to the bank before you start actually paying off the house. So we've been kind of groomed a certain way to not understand that land was something that was always of value. They took that from people in the South. They took land from people, pushed them into this major city, said, work, here's an income, and we're going to take that land back. And what did they do? They created farms and other industries now that they went back to charge and tax people again. So without getting too philosophical, land has always had a value. And if anything, land's led me to being an author. How cool is
All
that?
right.
You know?
And that's a nice segue before we start talking about your books, getting dollars from dirt. How do
Yes, sir.
people get in touch with you, Mr. Davis, my friend Philip? And
Yep.
by the way, I'm going to tell you, I have a
Yep.
lot of people named Philip. You're the only one that knows how to spell your name with two L's. I am one. And that's the reason why you're prospering. You know how to spell your name.
I got it. Well, I'm there are three of us now, so I got to thank my dad for that. He led the way.
Well, you do
Um,
know my first name is Philip also.
yeah, I do. I do.
Yeah.
Uh, I remember that the first day I met you. I was like that. He made sure to tell me that, and I will remember it.
Yeah. And I said the same thing. You know how to spell.
Yep. So you can find me again, ancestrylands.com. I'm on YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, Pinterest. Where am I not? Odyssey, I'm everywhere. Rumble. It's not just about land. I do have other guests on too to talk about, everything under the sun. But a lot of it is towards mindset, land ownership, and everything that centers around that, including, agricultural tips. But Ancestry Lands on YouTube, on Facebook too as well. Instagram, we got everything. we showcase our land, we show properties. I try to do a good job of content with it. But my website, ancestrylands.com, if you type Ancestry Lands in, you'll find me.
All right. And for those of you that do not like to read, I will tell you this is a quick read. You can have this book done in less than 30 minutes if you
Yeah.
just turn one page and read the next page and so forth. It answers a lot of the questions. The title of the book is Getting Dollars from Dirt. Now, the first thing I'm going to ask you, because it's the first thing that everyone always asks me when I release a book,
Right.
why? Why this book?
That's a great question. First, the title was, again, I try to, you have so less of people who are social media influencers that they don't walk and talk at the same time. They tend to just talk. This is what I've done. I was a nurse. I bought one property, now up to 100, and I've gotten dollars from selling dirt. And my goal in this book was to try to give people the least amount of fluff to be able to know, hey, it applies if I own a home and I want to pull a pool in my house. It's just meat and potatoes of what you need to understand about any real estate that you're dealing with, from the corporate building down to, a nursery in the back of your home.
All right. So it's a guide,
Yes, sir.
step-by-step guide, and I will say it's written in simple words that I can understand. I suffer from ADHD and traumatic brain injury, and I got it. There was only two words I couldn't pronounce and couldn't remember, so I'm not going to try. I'm just joking.
I,
I'm just joking.
I know it.
But it's a great book. So, um, how does the everyday person use this book?
Yeah. I would always say start on your why. If you're looking at a home, if you're looking at a home where you have some acreage or you want to put a pool in, you always have to go to a contractor. And I always say that when you have to go to someone else, you have to pay the price for their expertise. This guide book is allowing you to have some level of expertise where you can bypass, say, a contractor, go to the county, look up the zoning, and find out what you are or are not allowed to do in any county. Every county is very different on the specifics of what things are allowed, but this at least gets you in there to ask questions to make an informed decision and be able to have some control over when you're paying for things like adding an addition to your home, buying vacant land, putting a pool in the house or in your yard, or doing anything that you would need a county to kind of get a permit for. And that's what it's meant for, is to empower the people with knowledge. And it's written in a way so my kids have read it. My my surgeon who fixed my Achilles, he's read it, and they love how simple it is to give them working knowledge to be able to say, hey, zoning. And now the contractor's going, oh, this guy knows his stuff now. Let me, maybe I can't charge him that extra 500 just for labor now. And in some cases, if you are kind of handy, it allows you to kind of go in and do DIY it for a lot of things, because you now can work with your county and talk with them instead of being so paralyzed with not knowing, no knowledge. And I wanted it to be that way. And also I wanted it to be a guiding light for people who think that you have to be some. I started off as a nurse who didn't pass his test, nursing test, 4 times until I passed. And now I'm a published author. I did not want to leave things on the table for my kids to say, well, I'll let my kids do it. They are now seeing the legacy of what I'm doing being built right in front of them. And it's something I can leave behind.
Now, in my community, there's two lots
Mhm.
that for the last 26 years that I've been in this area in Pennsylvania, that they've been empty. There's been a big sign on it, says lot for sale.
Mhm.
There's been growth around it. I know that I've always said I look at the surrounding areas to see what's happening. If there's a McDonald's or a big box store that is in that area and that lands available, that tells me that sooner or later, the right person, the right time, that's a good investment. And is that the right thinking?
Yes, I do. It's not so much always that it's not selling. Land does take longer to sell because people, it's not something that we look at. Like I said, we've been told that homes are what you should buy. So everyone's great at signing up for thousands, $100,000 of interest and debt, But looking at a lot, you've got to kind of take it, for what you can do with it. What are the zonings behind it? And that's what the book opens up. When you go in, you use the book and you go down and ask these questions and you make an informed decision. But I do like land where there is growth. Sometimes the land isn't selling because people just want top dollar for it.
Right.
They're not willing to sell it for a certain price. And that's probably because they overpay for the land itself. So, that's what the book is helping to guide you in. And I'll have another version coming out that will deal in, like, how to know what the right price is later. But for right
Right.
now, I wanted people to understand, is there water in front? Is there a power pole here? And now you start to look at, is something wrong with the soil? What kind of soil is there? Because if I'm going to build, I need to make sure that this isn't, I'm not going to have to do any reinforced basement because I don't want it to leak. You start having these conversations, and that might not be the right deal for me.
Well, and I understand that people don't think about that because
Mhm.
when you buy a piece of land
Right.
and there's no water, there's no plumbing that's available, there's no electricity, that means you've got to pay to bring that in. And most people don't know that.
Nope.
So if you already have that set in place, um, from what I remember from the book, there are four basic options that's listed in your book. One, you talk about commercial,
Right.
residential, industrial, and agricultural.
Yes, sir.
Which is the best investment?
I would say residential, in the sense of for the everyday person. Now, if you are a young person and one day you're going to be a Warren Buffett or some commercial builder, then commercial would be your choice. But for the vast majority of us, residential is going to be your best play, because you see apartments coming up all over the place. Builders, what you want to do is get the residential before the builders come, if you will, and that's
Right.
that's the best one, from there. But commercial too. You drive down a highway and you're like, man, they putting a McDonald's, they're putting a building up here. The book gives you how to look for that too. Because that's what's happening. This is happening all around us. Or if you see a development coming up, you might want to, if I saw a McDonald's coming up, I'd be looking at land next to see what's residential to buy right there. Because then I'm going to go and look to a developer or builder and say, hey, you want to buy this plot over here? And that's how you see developments pop up. They're old farmland that gets rezoned. And I talk about that too as well. But I think residential's been my bread and butter. But commercial, the reason why commercial is not that too great is because commercial is location specific. You got to buy in an area where you got that last little bit of area where the kind of they really want that. Like, any land next to outskirts of a casino, the casino's going to want to get built up and they're going to want to come and buy that land. Hold out, and you can make some money. But I'm just saying commercials a little bit tougher. And commercial's been a big spend, but you got to have a large amount of money. You got to come in. Some of the things like no credit, those things come back into play when you're looking at commercial. Um,
Well, and that's the reason why I brought up the fact that
yeah.
looking at established brands,
Hmm.
they spend a lot of money doing demographic studies. They want to know how the population is growing in that area, what other businesses, and I've never seen a McDonald's or a Wendy's go out of or Burger King go out of business.
Right.
I've seen Kentucky Fried Chicken and Taco Bell relocate and
Right.
come into something else, but I've never seen a McDonald's or so forth. And I figured they do a great job. The other thing is, I've there are areas that I see now. There is a desert with grocery stores in some communities and whatever. When I'm looking at a vacant lot, if I find a vacant lot and I have no idea how to do this, can I come to you and say, Mr. Davis, can you hook me up and let me buy this? Go through the hard part first and let me buy it through because I have no idea. Or can I get your advice and saying, great investment opportunity? What can I do?
Yeah. You're talking about you as you yourself, or no?
I'm talking
No,
hypothetically. I told
yeah.
you I want to live in the woods where I've
Yeah.
got a stream where I can go fishing and I can get up every single day, sit on the dock in my underwear. I don't
Yeah.
want neighbors, but I want a view that's 380 degrees that I can live for and die for.
Yeah.
I want to
Yeah.
build a house that has an open window to my bathroom. I don't
Yeah.
want neighbors.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I will let everyone know, my door is always open, but my time is not free. I do consult people, um, for land, depending on how so people can engage me. I'm not very costly, but I do thorough research. And I can get you answers that you do want to know. And I can give you what I would define as my expert opinion about things. And then you can go from there. So I have done it for other land investors because they do like my level of due diligence. I do make calls. I do find out information that's very useful. But I do charge for that because I have 3 kids and I do value my time and I have a business to run too as well. But
Well,
I do. My goal is to not only empower people, bring knowledge, but it's also to build people to become, masters of their own universe. And I think everyone, what I've done is nothing extraordinary. It's consistency, hard work, and taking the time to educate myself.
well, you're doing some of the type of work that when I say wealthy people, and I've been
Mhm.
at many social gatherings with wealthy people, where our people, when we go to social gatherings, we talk about the things we bought because we're great consumers. We
Right.
talk about having a good time. Um, Wealthy people, from what I understand, when they get together, they share conversations all about wealth, how to acquire more wealth,
Right.
and that's something that needs to change within our community.
Hmm.
So I need to understand and correct me when you
Sure.
say that you need to be compensated for your time. And I
Hmm.
think access to content is the conversation we're having right now.
Right.
Access to the content is what you make an investment. And I always say, invest in yourself first. So basically, what I would be coming to you for, and I don't know if there are listeners, I need to understand the rules and regulations of the game.
Sure.
What level am I at?
Hmm.
What am I dealing with within, the county or the area?
Sure.
I know nothing about acquiring, permits and
Right.
the regulations. I've had known people that have
Hmm.
bought property because they had a great view, and when they came back to build on it, they realized that they couldn't do anything on it. They own land that had no value,
Hmm.
and I personally was like to say, make sure that I'm never in that situation. Are those conversations are part of that consulting that you fee that you charge?
Yes, I mean, it's a A to Z consulting. I will tell people before you come to me, not that I'm trying to get a sell out of you, but when you read the book gives you. I don't have to take you back to kindergarten and bring you up to college. That will get you at least to elementary school to high school. So now we can have a conversation where I can fill in the gaps. I'm not. I don't want to be a person that I'm now your contractor and now we're doing that where you're paying me for that. I want to be able to have a fluid conversation where people are brought up to speed. So when I say things like, it has commercial or a mixed use, you kind of know what those terms are. And the book is meant at giving you a basic education to understand what we're talking about. So when I go back and do these fact finding, I don't have to do a lot of explaining on basic terms like, this is a residential property and people go, huh? So I want to engage people who have at least taken the time to educate themselves so I know that they put some skin in the game and some onus. So when they're coming to me, they really want me to solve something or give them good counsel. And that's what, I have to get on the phone, call counties. I have to call, find out what's this, and that. So I'm not just charging for charging. I'm giving you a full on report so you can make an informed decision. And it does take a lot of work that people don't want to do. That's why you pay developers hundreds of thousands of dollars to do it. So I'm just not the home is never as expensive as the price you're paying because the developer has that down. They're just charging you like a mechanic for the labor. And that's what you're paying for. You're paying for their knowledge, their expertise. So, my time is very valuable. My kids are very valuable. And I don't mind engaging people, but there is a price for it. And it's not something people can't afford.
Well, I'm gonna make an investment, but I need you to find something that kind of fits in the frame because I wanna be able to work from home,
Yeah.
go do my public speaking,
Right.
do my books signing, go back to the woods, go out walking with my dog,
Mm-hmm.
do those little things.
Got it.
Um, you know, People are gonna ask this question because
Sure.
I spent the last since we've known each other, I've still been looking for, my next home.
Right.
And I've went through 5 times of, going through this, and all this stuff made sense to me. I wish I had had this book when I first, started looking because I went through the process of, 1, being unofficially redline, of
Right.
buying in a neighborhood that a community will welcome my money deposit into their economy, but they did not want me living there.
Mm,
And so there's two banks there, and I will say in Lake Placid, that for systematically figured out a way not to have me buy a home there.
mm,
And I would say that, I'm going to figure out some way to sucker punch them and get land there and show up there and go, hey, I got it. You may be that source, but there are a couple of things people need to look for.
right.
All right. And these are from my notes: access,
Hmm.
location, and then size.
Yep.
Explain to me why those are important. Let's explain to our guests why it's important. I know the
Right.
answer.
Got it. Well, let's use your example of living out in the woods with no one. I'd imagine that any place that has woods snows, like I put in the book. Roads that become snowy. If you've ever seen any movie where someone gets stuck in a house, The Shining, how hard is it to get to that area? I had a Achilles tear on a basketball court right around the corner, and ambulance was able to get there very quickly and get me to the hospital in no amount of time. So you have to really think about access. Can you get to the property? That is not just for you, just for anyone else. Can your family get there? And how tough is it to get to that property? Roads have to be maintained. It, a dirt road today, that doesn't necessarily mean it's county maintained. So that's something that you have to verify. Location. That's one. The reason why I say location is that how far are you going to be away from grocery store? How far are you going to be away from hospital services? If you have, like me, I have an inhaler. My children, we have to get them to hospital. That's going to matter, especially if you are in your later years retiring. You're out walking with your dog. You get bit by, I don't know, a snake, or you get it. How are you going to be able to get to, services and amenities? And then the other one is, I look at is utilities is kind of a big thing because, like you said before, people don't understand the further you are away, the lack of humans that are around you, unless you can do rain collecting and you're going to do solar, you're going to find some way, maybe an oil lamp. You may, if you need internet, that might be a problem. The
Yeah.
towers are too far. So those are kind of things that you have to consider when you're looking at a property. It could be on the side of a mountain, but do you have the resources to put all of those things in play to make sure that your dream is what you want it to be?
All right. I'm hoping I asked for our listeners some of the right questions. I did read your book 3 times. All right. I just wanted to make sure that, I'm smarter today than I was yesterday. There were some things that I learned. Um, Phil, Mr. Davis, I love you. You always have a wealth of knowledge. Um, for those people that are listening that will be calling you, asking you for advice and direction, I will say the man values his time. Don't waste his time. If you're not in a position that you're ready, don't make that phone call. I will tell you the same way reaching out to me. If you're not ready and willing and able, don't make the phone call. Make the best use of the time because it's a dime that's going to cost you a dollar.
Right.
Um, and so every time is an investment. It's a commodity that no one wants to waste.
Yep.
You are listed in my circle as one of a what I call a super achiever, and the fact that you're doing business with purpose
Right.
means that you know you've been blessed to serve,
Thank you.
and this happens to be your way of giving back. Anything I missed, and what we should be sharing?
No, I will say that my book is available on Amazon. It's Getting Dollars from Dirt, a beginner's guide to vacant land investing. It is only, and like you said, even what my consult is, you could be making hundreds of thousands of dollars a mistake if you look at what it would cost you to build, and you can't build in that situation, like you said, your friends. So again, I'm going to save you potentially all of that headache, that money loss and investment. I want to put you in a place where if you're saying, "Hey, I want to hire you to find me that lot, can you acquire it and get it there?" I will take on that role to do it. There's some paperwork involved, but yeah, I will go and go find you that lot. But it's going to be for a fee because I'm going to have to take a lot of time to do that. But I think you covered the most of it, and I'm not here to charge people. It's just the time that I have to take away from my year old son and my daughter, and that time that I have to take away from them. So it's not you're not paying me, because I'm doing something. You're paying me because I'm prioritizing you over my family. And that's, I don't want to make it sound that that crass, but that's
No,
essentially what's
Philip, I'm
happening
going to
right
sound crass for you
now.
because
Okay.
you've gone through a lot in order to have this privilege. And I'm going to tell everyone it's an investment.
Yeah.
So they need to pay you for your time. And it's okay for you to be rewarded for your efforts.
Right.
That's why we go in business. We don't go into business in order to fly
Right.
the friendly skies for free. Those
Right.
planes crash.
Yeah.
All right. This
True.
this one is you're going to be building a plane while flying. You're going to learn. You're going to grow. You're going to turn one piece of property into a second piece of property. You're going to have someone build on another piece of property, and then you'll find out what an asset really is. When every single month someone has a home and they got to pay you. Not only do they pay for your bills, they also pay you for the privilege of having their house built on your land. And so, if
Mhm.
they've got a 30-year mortgage, guess how long they're going to be paying you?
Right.
Yep, and you gotta look at that. So that's something you can always count on.
Hmm.
Um, what is your number one habit? What's your daily routine that gets you going? Because every successful person
Hmm.
that I know
Right.
has a daily routine. They also have a daily quote, something that gets them going. What is Give me an idea of you being a super achiever. What are your daily habits?
So, I mean, first when I wake up, it's to family. Monday through Friday, I wake up, get my kids ready for school, help my wife out. It's one gets out at 8, you got to get on the bus at 8, 9, and then there's the baby. From there, I center in on work after I've made sure the family's taken care of. And my guiding light, my North Star is that it's not what I own, it's what I leave behind. And what I'm leaving behind is my body of work, the book, the land, the YouTube channel. It's something that my children and others like me can see that they're inspired. Nurses, my whole journey is a body of work that, yeah, you can. Um, I'm self driven, so I don't kind of live by a lot of mantras because whatever I've embodied becomes second nature to me. I do have a list. I have a team that works. There are responsibilities that we have to do, and we put systems in place that these are the things that are their daily tasks. These are the things that I'm responsible for, and then what comes next. So those three pillars are by how this business operates, and then I also have to take a fourth pillar, which is what am I going to do in the future. So just naturally I'm building a business to leave a business, to have it as a legacy. So my children, they have the benefit of what I've had with them is a father who's home with them. When I read your book, trading hours for dollars, that just hit me like a lightning bolt. And I've gone on my son's field trips. I'm home with my children. They have a father. Not only they have a father, they have a father in the home. My wife gets help. I it's like, hey, just ask me to do it and I'll stop working. And the baby grows up wrestling dad every day. Those moments you can't get back later on. You can make all the money in the world and you look at all these Instagram things about billionaires. They would trade it all to have those moments back with their children. And I'm getting to have it. I want to set a business up that my children can have the freedom to, I choose to go to college, not I have to. I have a business, but if I get injured like I did, I have my business to rely on to support my family, not a boss. And the
Eh,
people who work for me, they have the surety of knowing that, hey, they're always getting paid because we're selling property and we have something of value. So that's, I always say find your North Star and stay there, and keep that going. But instead of having the mantra outward where you got to go read it, you become it. It becomes second nature. My father used to always say that. Make it become part of you into your being. So I've been injured. I'm still working on a computer. I've had hernia surgery, still working. My wife said, why are you working on? I got to get this done. It just becomes second nature, like you're eating or breathing. And that's what it is. It's not work for me anymore. It's to me building something for the future for generations I will not see beyond myself. And they always can look back. That was granddad. That was great grandfather, and that's him there doing that. Here's his book, second book. Look at the amount of people he's helped, testimonies. Look at the interview he's done with talking with Kevin and son. Look at the people he's around and the circles that he's entered to because of this thing called land.
That was a great segue to, I won't say the end of this story, but yet this is another chapter beginning of the stories to come, because I know this is not the last, but I will ask you, and I've asked you this before.
Mhm.
And the reason why I asked you this, because when I set up this podcast and RMK Productions, one of the things I wanted to do and what I was fixed on is helping other people every day. So service. I've been thinking about this since I was in the third grade, and I've been consistent. And anything in business and anyone that's been successful, they will say the key is being consistent. The other is aligning your why with your purpose. And at different stages in your life, your why gets confused with your timeline. Your purpose does not have clarity until you find a reason. And believe it or not, once you have children and you start looking at your todays and tomorrows, your why starts to line up with your purpose. And your purpose happens to surround you with people that support your purpose. You're doing a great job. You're doing a great job. I can't wait to see what you do next, but I will have to ask you this question. All right, the type of people that follow RMK Productions and the 10 United Podcast Network and my shows, you know, Talking with Kevin and Son, we showcase the people you should know. They are not the kind of people that walk by or drive by an accident. They stop and help. So
Right.
my family and my friends, it's just like you, part of that, you have a higher call to action. If I call and ask for help, you don't ask me why, you just said I'll do it. And our rule is just don't put me in a situation it hurts.
Right.
You had a book and I'm going, yeah, let's promote it. When I first met you, I probably had 68 subscribers. Now I'm reaching 4,000, but I have 10,000 people
Right.
that watch. So it means that 4,000 people have a higher call to action. I've had 4 people since we've been doing this that someone has granted them the answer to this question I'm about to ask you. And there's many of us that go through our whole lifetime and never have one wish or dream come true. And I've had 4 just from this show alone. So if I were to ask you, if you had one ask to be, one dream to come true, I don't care if it's for you or someone else. And I will say, I want you to think about this, ask big, because God says if you don't ask, you will not receive. All right.
Sure.
So if you have to explain it, your ask is not asking big enough.
Yeah.
So what would that ask be, sir?
I always I already know what the answer is that I leave nothing behind, nothing left behind for myself. And that I don't want people to misinterpret that, but I don't want to leave anything left on the table in my life. And that's my only anytime I fly, anytime I do anything, I just say I want to make sure that I've got nothing left behind, that I've done it all that I needed to do. So when the clock strikes and that's it, it's time and done, that you did everything that you could have done and you leave nothing behind.
And to my listeners, if you want a short explanation of what Mr. Davis just says, he is a person that's not looking at his glass half empty. He's looking at the glass with his cup running over.
Hmm.
That's what a real man says.
Hmm.
Again, I want to thank you. I want to thank everyone that's ever tuned in to listen to any of the podcasts that I've created. Hopefully, we've entertained you. Hopefully, each episode has touched you in a way that made a difference, that you not only changed the view from the seat that you have, but changed the way that you react to humanity itself. If you like what you've heard, this is a shameless plug. Go to RMK Productions and network on our YouTube page. And if you're a person that has a higher call to action and want to get involved and maybe change someone's life, I ask that you subscribe and follow and share. If you liked the show, I love people that are fans and I appreciate your support. Continue to listen to us. Remember, every podcast, if you stay on longer than 3.5 minutes, that's a win for us. That means that we provided you with some source of entertainment, some knowledge that was worth your time, and we want to thank you. If you'd like to be a guest on the show, and Philip, you're always welcome back. You have my direct number. But for those of my listeners, if you have someone in your life that is doing something great for your community and giving back, we want to know that person. That's the reason why, we feature, people you should know. Philip, last thing, is there anything you want our listeners to take away from this?
Yeah, I do. Last thing, like when you said about McDonald's or KFC going out, The store might change, but the land doesn't. As long as you own the land, buildings can change all the time. But McDonald's probably still owns that land that changed into something else. KFC might be there, but McDonald's may own the land. Let's keep that in mind.
And that's Philip Davis getting dollars from dirt.
Yeah.
And thank you, everyone. My grandfather always said, when you get to a point in life that you can help someone else, like Philip said, it is your duty to do so. My grandfather said, reach one, teach one. And with that said, again, I'll thank you, Mr. Davis. You're welcome back. I thank my listeners. I thank my future guests. I thank the people that have been on here already. I thank you. I thank you. Thank you. I am humble. And with that said, reach one, teach one, find 1,000 reasons to be kind to someone else. And with that said, we'll fade to black and we're out.